Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a Ko-Fi, Patreon, crypto, and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now we are joined by Brian, Neil, and a whole bunch of people in the Flat Earth Debate Discord server, so welcome one and all.
How are you?
Hello.
All right. I'm okay. Happy days. Always in a good mood when my neighbour lends us her dog. So in this case, she had a relative coming over from Oz, and she's just like, my relative wants me to keep him awake by entertaining him for a few hours. Can you have my dog so I can take him out and keep him from getting jet lag? And I'm like, yeah, of course. Kids love playing with the little sausage dog.
Yeah, but that leads to a permanent dog. Eventually, they're going to want their own doggy.
Well, they can't have one. It's like a care dog, whatever you call those assistants type dogs. And because this is an apartment, there's no pets allowed here. So that's an exception, obviously, if somebody is in need of a medical dog. I don't know what the term is, but it's one of those. Anyway.
Yeah, they're working dogs.
It's a working dog, which means that it's incredibly well behaved, and it does, it's there for her comfort or whatever. So it's just incredibly comforting and loving dog, and it's really, really nice to have around. Anyway, not that anyone wants to hear about dogs. In the pre-show, we were talking about this this attempt to come to us with information to challenge the flat Earth measurements in pitch data. Now, my attitude towards this, which may be challenged by Brian in about 30 seconds from now, is that I don't care. Earth's measured flat in the data, and it requires some wizardry for you to convince me, like I'm asking you to be convinced, of an alteration occurring in the flat Earth measurements. That is to say, the flat line measuring a flat Earth with respect to the horizontal plane of reference and the surface level and flight level that are utilised in this data are somehow altered before they're measured. So there's a curve that isn't in the data that would be in the data, but for the measurements not being raw and having been altered so that the curve that would be there isn't there. Now, when that happens, I'm just rolling my eyes thinking, I don't care if you're trying to convince me of this wizardry. I haven't asked you for it. I'm not asking anybody for anything. What I have done is said, if you want to get in touch with the NTSB and say, oi, you haven't got raw data here that you're investigating deaths with, I wouldn't be so bold. I absolutely understand unequivocally that the raw measurements of a flat Earth with respect to sea level are what they are. And I trust the NTSB aren't duping anybody with corrected data. They've got raw data. It's just a measurement of a flat Earth that they're presenting because they're dealing with people's deaths and they don't mess around when it comes to this stuff. But you can challenge them if you choose to. As for me, I'm not asking anybody to bring me anything. I've got the measurements of Earth. It's flat. We checked. What's that? You want to tell me otherwise? I don't care. What's that? The gyro deviates from a horizontal plane of reference, the main useful aspect that it offers, because it's correcting for Earth curve that's not in the measurements. So I need to understand that I'm stupid and don't understand that this straight, flat line measuring a surface level of Earth isn't a surface level of Earth. It's a surface curve of Earth when they measure sea level. Actually see curve. You can believe that. I'm not asking you. We've checked. Earth's measured flat. We've got the measurements. You telling me that the measurements are wrong isn't really going to fly. I'm not asking you to tell me anything. But feel free to correct the NTSB that their raw data ain't raw according to you and your ball belief. That's up to you.
My question is, why wouldn't it show it? Right, Brian? Why wouldn't it show it?
It
They got
isn't
no
showing it.
excuse
Who
for that.
cares? I'm not going to ask why it's not showing unicorns in the flat Earth data that measures Earth's surface for crashes. I'm not asking why it's not got stuff in it. I accept that what's there is what it is, and why it's not got Earth curve in it isn't my concern. It hasn't. Who cares why they say it hasn't? Oh, they say it's because it's already self-corrected and vanished. I don't care. I'm not asking you to tell me why it's not in there. It isn't in there. We measure Earth flat with this data. Earth's flat, we checked. That's how it's measured. Your apologies aren't needed anymore. We don't need you. Thanks.
Yeah, no. What they're putting forward is a correction system, an actual correction system, not some mathematical correction to the data, an actual correction system to the gyro when the gyro loses horizontal. It's a correction system using Mercury and torque to correct it back to horizontal. And this is within gyros that are, horizontal gyros in attitude indicators that are powered electrically, not the ones that are powered via air and vacuum. It's not for, they use pendulous vanes. This is another system separate from that for a gyro that's powered by electricity only, just purely the spin of it is electrically powered, right? So the point is that what this system does is when there is an issue, right, when not, and it even says it in it, not under normal conditions, this will be a situation that happens not with commercial airliners, hardly at all. It would be with fighter jets and smaller planes, doing a lot of banking and moving and maneuvering. The fighter jets sometimes end up upside down, you name it. Like, so that system is there because they're using electricity to power that gyro. If they were using air and vacuum, they don't need that system because they have pendulous vanes. The whole purpose of it is to correct the gyro back to horizontal.
And how do you do that, Brian? It says how you do it in there by the pilot flying straight and level flight.
No, hang on. You don't. The system corrects, Neil.
Yeah, but the pilot has to be driving straight and level for a distance. I read it.
Look, you want me to come in and talk on these matters?
Go ahead, Brian.
You want me to come in and talk on these matters, then you talk straight through me, Neil.
Oh, I didn't mean to. I'm just saying what I read was as long as the pilot keeps straight and level flight, then it corrects it.
Neil. That was he's telling you off rhetorically so he can carry on. It doesn't need a response.
What the freak? Forget.
Neil's getting annoyed.
The point I'm trying to make is this is a correction system for gyros that are powered electrically only. They don't have the vacuum and air system. The vacuum and air system gyros in an attitude indicator have the pendulous vanes. This is for ones that are powered purely electrically. This is the system to correct them. The whole purpose of it is to correct back to horizontal. So the pilots have a correct horizontal to work with for their pitch and for other things, for their bank and their roll. That's why, that's the whole purpose of it. That's what it's not something that's it's a continuous correction. Because if it was a continuous correction, then it couldn't work because we wouldn't have horizontal. You understand what I mean? This is something that happens when it's necessary to happen. And I can guarantee you it happens hardly never in commercial airliners. And most of those commercial airliners don't even have that system. Most of them will probably have the air and vacuum system and pendulous vanes. What it is they're trying to hijack, or they're trying to make it out as if there's some mathematical correction happening to the data, when it's not. The correction is happening to the gyro, so the data is then clear and correct. Because they can't fly with a gyro that's out of alignment. If they follow that gyro and it's out of alignment, they won't be able to fly. That's why the C systems are there. Because the gyro, the spin of the gyro creates precession. And when you have that precession and you have the maneuvers that a jet fighter or a smaller plane would make, then you are likely to knock the gyro out of alignment. That's why the likes of pendulous vanes and this system here from Sperry, that's why these systems were created to stop the plane losing horizontal. That's the purpose of it. What they're actually doing is they're actually proving their point and they don't realize it.
Yes, the corrections will be to the horizontal that's axiomatically tied to the graph, the measurements, the surface level, the plane being in level flight, everything about every measurement on the graph. When they attempt to deviate by saying, here we go, here's an example of a broken gyro. And that's because it wasn't correcting for the Earth curve that it always corrects for. Now it's faulty. You're like, no, every single correction that the plane will have remained with as a result of the other instruments achieved level flight, as we already know and have measured in pitch data. I mean, like I say, this argument is created like all things in flat Earth. We've figured out the game. The game is to make axiomatic principles of Earth that is flat and being measured as such seem like there's an argument to be had. So when we look at a flat line with a flat Earth, with a flat surface level and a flat parallel eye level and a flat flight level, you go, well, that's because you don't understand. Now I need to explain to you how ball-shaped this would be if it wasn't being corrected. Didn't you know that gyro's correct for Earth curve? You're like, yeah, I don't care. We've got measurements. It's flat. We checked. So you can feel free. But Brian, will explain it to me so I don't end up making myself look stupid by not understanding the different principles of these corrective measures that they will take in gyroscopic action to remain horizontal. That's the gyroscopic motion that may come under stress and become misaligned through mechanical limitations. But these can be corrected for and would be measured for if they were to show up in the pitch data that we have already checked is measuring a flat Earth with. Axiomatically, it can't be anything else. We've already checked. But these people think that we need to be told this, like we care. I mean, I suggested that if anybody wanted to get in touch with the NTSB because they're suggesting their raw data they investigate death with isn't raw data, it's already been corrected, then they'd be wrong, and it would be absurd to get in touch with the NTSB in such a manner. I wouldn't dare, because I know that they're dealing with raw data and their measurements are of a flat Earth. It's axiomatically tied to every single measurement on their graph. So I don't need to ask anybody for anything. I'm good. I've got the measurements of Earth already. We checked it's flat. But you can argue with us, that's the whole game, isn't it? Brian, you moaned about bloody Neil interrupting. Your second interruption now. Go ahead, Neil. Brian. My bad. Get you too confused sometimes.
That's Neil. That's not me.
Oh, was it? Was that you interrupting me, Neil?
Trying to get a freaking word in.
What you mean is you've interrupted me and Neil. Neil, you're interrupting. That's why everyone's telling you off.
You stopped about 5 times and I tried. You know what? I'll raise my hand if I could, but I lost that when we switched to teams. All I'm trying to say is when I read page 6 and 7, whatever's going on, as long as the pilot remains in straight and level flight, it'll correct itself back to whatever it's doing. That's what I'm reading, unless I'm reading it wrong.
No, you're not reading it wrong. And Neil, you were agreed with immediately after you dropped. Brian wanted to make the point. It's just stepping on him while he's making the point and wants it to be understood that he's checked this out, he's researched it, and he's just telling me and you, we haven't done any of this research. So the fact that we can listen, comprehend, and repeat it back to him isn't satisfactory for Brian. Understandably so, given he's done all the work.
Well,
I come in, you're not talking. So I don't mean to cut you off, Brian.
Like you just did.
Well, you just did there again. The point is, Neil, is that what I want to say about what you just said. What has been said in that document is false. How can the pilots be flying straight and level? How do they know if it's straight and level if you have a gyro showing an incorrect horizontal? Or not showing horizontal. Do you know what I mean? That's wrong. The way I worded it is wrong. Whoever wrote that, they actually used the word vertical when they should have used horizontal when they were speaking about the attitude indicator as well. No, the correction system corrects it back to horizontal. That's what happens. If the pilots just fly? No, that's not going to do it. If it was just that, then they wouldn't need the correction system at all. You know what I mean? There'd be no point.
So you're saying after it's corrected, then the pilot maintains straight and level flight?
Yeah, but they don't know if they're maintaining straight and level flight beforehand if they don't have the correct gyro to work with.
Yeah, you can't be nose up with respect to horizontal if horizontal bends, and axiomatically it's tied to every measurement. So what Brian's saying is, if you're going to correct something that's going wrong, what are you going to correct it to? What's the correction? Well, we're trying to remain with respect to this tool that gives you a horizontal plane of reference when it's spun up. That's its point. That's its only job. It's its raison d'etre. That's what it does. What's that? No, it actually corrects to gravity. Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, you can believe that, guys, if you want to. We weren't asking. I understand how frickin' gyro works, and I understand what they're using it for in aviation. I also understand every axiomatic principle that's tied to it, like straight and level flight, like surface level and sea level. Those things don't need correcting. I don't need telling about this crap. Yeah. You numpties with a ball belief, you've got a problem here. What's the problem? Well, we measure Earth flat. Oh, it's just us not understanding how the curve that M measured has been self-correct. No. This is your problem. We checked. It's measured flat. We're good, thanks. Don't need any more help from you.
What I was attacking there, Nathan, was the actual document itself. Hey, Chocolate. Everything's good. One second, I'll leave you in there. I just want to say to Nathan, I was correct. I was attacking the document itself. Because the document, according to what Neil was saying there, the pilot just flies straight and level, and the gyro then corrects to that. No. How does the pilot know that they're flying straight and level if the gyro was incorrect? The gyro tells them what horizontal is. So if the gyro is not showing horizontal, then the pilots can't be flying straight and level. Well, my point is that this is another problem. I just pointed out the horizontal and vertical mix-up within it. This is another problem within that document, where whoever wrote it didn't seem to know what they're talking about. Because how can they be flying straight and level if they don't have a horizontal to determine what straight and level is? They can't fly straight and level if the gyro is showing something that isn't horizontal. They won't be flying straight and level because that's their reference. That is their reference for straight and level. So when the gyro is corrected, then they can fly straight and level. But while that gyro is incorrectly aligned, they won't be flying correctly straight and level. They can't be. So that what was read out there by Neil, if that's what's in the document, that's ridiculous. That's illogical.
But just to summarise,
that's the count in front of the horse.
There's quite a few axiomatic principles that Brian's just described. I mean, in case you guys who are getting all stressed out about this, worry about how we're describing things. It's not like you're going to have to just deal with the gyroscopic action. You've got to describe how something that's attaining straight and level flight isn't straight and level. How the elevation above sea level isn't an elevation and isn't sea level. So every single axiomatic principle that's tied to these measurements isn't going to suddenly bend. And if you deal with one, you're not going to suddenly unbend or bend something that's changed and been self-corrected in one of the others. Every principle that's used in avionics ties itself to Earth being measured flat. There's no exceptions here. Like I say, we're chill, we're cool now. We're done. We figured it out. I wasn't joking when I said it in 5 videos ago. Yeah, the debate's over. I noticed it got me about 10 adverts. And that is where we as flat earthers actually kick back and relax, because every measurement of Earth is flat. And all we have to now listen to is irritating idiots telling us how we don't understand how a flat Earth measurement isn't really flat. It's only flat because, at which point you should just switch off and roll your eyes. It's only a flat Earth measurement because we haven't got the corrections that have already been done to the gyro that would show curve if they hadn't already been corrected. That's the argument. Sorry, there wasn't an argument to begin with. Bloody hell, Brian. I'm nearly done. Thank you, Brian. No, we don't need you to tell us what isn't being corrected for that would have been corrected for, or lie about tools that do correct using things like mercury switches and pendulous vanes, and suggest that those systems that are correcting when a plane's in a tight bank are actually not self-correcting when in normal use. Yeah, we understand the arguments that you need to have to make it seem like what we've actually just got, it's a flat Earth measurement that the plane's given us from the black box, and it's used to investigate death. That's it. The argument's over. There never was an argument Earth got measured flat in that data, and I don't need some numpty to tell me why it isn't the curve that isn't in the measurement, because the correction isn't needing to be shown in the measurement of a flat Earth. No, there'll just be another axiomatic flat Earth measurement principle in that graph, like surface level, sea level, straight and level flight. All of these things will always be a flat Earth measurement, regardless of you suggesting that gyroscopic action's actually self-correcting gravitational curve motion. It's not. I'm not an idiot. I know what a gyro is. Yeah, remaining rigid in space is what it does and what's used, not tying itself to a curve that's based around a gravity that was debunked 110 years ago. That's not what gyros do. Yeah, that's not what they're being used for. We get it. We checked. Earth's measured flat. Don't need your help anymore. Thanks, fundies.
Sorry, Nathan. What I was coming in to say was that what they're claiming is the data is showing that it's not measured flat. Sorry, that it's not locally flat. That's what they're basically saying. The data is showing that it's not locally flat.
Yeah,
That's not what the data isn't. Well, then they're lying because that is not what it is measuring. Now,
no, I'm not. I'm talking about what they're actually trying to say. They're actually trying to. They're literally admitting.
Please don't tell me what they're trying to say. I don't need it. I don't need to hear people telling me what they're trying to say. Right? If you've got a quote that says that they're trying to say something, not a quote that they're trying to say, that they're actually saying that it's not locally flat. No, that's not what they're trying to say.
No, that's not what I said. Listen to me. What they're saying concerning the data is that data is not just the data is not showing locally flat. They're admitting by what their argument is that the data is showing it to be totally flat. But there's local corrections that aren't in the data. That's what they're trying to infer.
I mean, that's fine. I mean, as I say, I'm kind of switching off and rolling my eyes, not at you, Brian, but at the fact that we're discussing this. I mean, it's fine. We're great, wonderful. We're getting to go through with the audience what the issue is. But as far as I'm concerned, I don't need anybody to be telling me how the topographical measurements that might be of interest that would have been accounted for aren't being accounted for, therefore it's only the plane of reference that would have been corrected to if the machine wasn't working or was. I didn't need any of this. Now, I know when you're in the pre-show you're saying, well, no, if you're in front of somebody and you're promoting the book and somebody comes up to you and starts talking about self-correcting gyroscopic motion, and I haven't got a clue about how a gyro works in avionics, and I'm appealing to the gyroscope in avionics in pitch data, then you're suggesting that, well, you'll get shown your ass. Well, yeah, that might be the case. If someone wants to embarrass me and are going out of their way to pick a topic that I obviously have no expertise in, I'm not a pilot. But I can look at a graph and I know what surface level is. I can look at a graph and I know what pitch is, and I know what it's measured with respect to. That's horizontal. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to figure out what's been measured on that data. Now, if you're saying somebody will know better than you and tell me about the self-correcting gyroscopes, again, I'll just reiterate it to camera. I'll just roll my eyes. If somebody's trying to do that with me and they're trying to get a gotcha because they're saying, I know better than you, gyroscopic motion's actually self-correcting gravitational motion, I'd be like, can you show me that in a measurement? What are they going to do? Well, they're going to start telling me why it isn't in the measurement. So what is in the measurement? Well, flat Earth. I already knew. I didn't need any help with that. I can read.
No, you missed.
You're going to understand.
You missed the point of what I was saying. You're after misaligning what I said.
This time, this show, you told me I've missed the point.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, because what I was trying to say to you is if you learn about it, they can't then do that. But you don't care. You're just allowing the possibility of them being able to bullshit the audience and make you look stupid. And I told you at the end of the pre-show, okay, then do whatever you want. That's what actually happened.
Okay, thanks. So, and your decision is to keep telling me that I'm going to, in a hypothetical scenario that hasn't happened, get made to look stupid 5 times. Well, thank you, Brian. It's really helpful that you've reiterated that 5 times to me in this hypothetical scenario that hasn't happened. Really appreciate it.
Well, if the hypothetical scenario comes up with me, it won't happen because I've actually learned about it.
Is that right?
Something you could also do, but you don't want it. It's on you.
Okay. I've spent 10 years learning the subject. I don't really get it. Why is it that suddenly every single failure in my knowledge is suddenly being held up to task because I'm going to go out and promote a book shortly? It's like, okay, what you're saying is, I mean, maybe I should take it another way. Oh, that's really sweet, Brian. You're just looking out for my best interests, right?
Nathan, why I'm saying it is because you're going to be claimed, they're going to claim, and you are claiming simultaneously with your book to be an expert on the situation.
I am
And
an
if you
expert.
can't deal with something like that
Let's
successfully,
just clear that up first. I am an expert on this subject. So are you.
Yeah, flat Earth.
yeah, but I'm trying to get you to be. Oh, I was really trying to get you to see what they're doing, and so you'll have a bit of ammunition if the time does come up.
I get that.
Because if they think you don't know what you're talking about there, or haven't paid proper attention to it,
Take, for
that's
example,
exactly what they're going to come at you with publicly.
Yeah, I get that. A lack of knowledge can get you to be made to look stupid, but using me as your hypothetical muse 6 times for this specific example, it's like, okay. So do you feel I still don't understand? Because I do.
You don't, unfortunately. You're not understanding what the point I'm trying to get across to you. And I can't, I didn't even want to even go into this on the live show. The point I was trying to get across to you is don't allow yourself don't put yourself into a position where you're open to attack there. Have the facts of the matter
I've opened the door
understood so you can
years,
take
right?
it apart and make them look stupid, not the other way around.
That's 7th time Brian's done that this show. Okay, so I might look stupid. Thanks, Brian. So I opened the door 10 years. Ridicule, potential. Open the door every day. Right now, someone could interrupt me from Discord, couldn't they? This second.
Absolutely. But you're on your own show. This is not a separate
all right,
show.
so that's not enough. All right. So everyone else who's shielded from numpties just walking through the front door, they're better than me? I'm not training myself daily to allow numpties through the door that can ridicule me at any given moment. That's not enough. All right, maybe I should be on someone else's show daily then. What are you talking about?
No, that's not what I said.
Well, you're just being overly.
What I tried to do.
I don't know what you're doing. I don't know why you're doing it. It's just not pleasant. 7th time of being told, yeah, well, if you get it wrong, you'll be made to look stupid. Yeah, Brian. Yeah. Yeah, if you don't wash, you'll be made to look dirty, Brian. You have washed today.
Okay, Nathan, okay. Do whatever the hell you want.
I will.
There you go. Absolutely. Off you go. And when the time comes, remember this. Because it may not be this, it might be something else that you couldn't be bothered learning about.
Why are you saying this? Why are you saying that I couldn't be bothered learning about it? We're having a show discussing it. You're here talking about it, but suddenly it's all 8th time about me not being willing to learn. Why am I suddenly some rebellious school child being belligerent in a class where I'm not listening? I'm not that person, but I've been made it 8 times so far by you on this show. What's going on?
No, I try not to bring it onto the live show. I talked in the pre-show. Try to leave it at that. You brought it back up in the live show. Now, okay, if you learn, what did I tell you? What did we discuss?
Oh, sorry, sir. I wasn't paying attention.
Okay.
What are you talking about?
There you go. Oh, you can do whatever you want. I know when that situation comes up with me, if it ever does, that I am prepared.
Okay. So what are you saying? You're better than me.
I put more effort in to learn. That's what I'm saying.
I see.
And I do it because that situation is likely to turn up. That's why I do it. That doesn't mean I'm better than you. I'm not saying anyone's better than anyone. But who would look better, Nathan, on that podcast, that big podcast? Who would look better?
Which
the
one?
person who deals with them and makes them look silly, or them making you look silly in front of the audience?
Well, why are we doing this? Why are you suddenly comparing yourself to me? I don't get it.
I'm not trying to compare myself to you. I don't know what's going on with you, Nathan. I really don't know what's going on with you. I've tried in the pre-show to point something out to you. The same thing I've tried to point out to you lots of times. Adam has tried to point it out to you. QE has tried to point it out. You are not interested in the details. You just want to have that one sentence that will overcome everything. But that one sentence won't overcome everything in the eyes of an audience. It's not always that simple. You need to have the detail there to address them. I have the details and understanding to address this successfully and show them to be completely wrong in front of an audience.
I understand. Okay, well, let me explain something, right? So it requires, often these sorts of things require a team of people to work symbiotically for a coherent product to be produced, for example. And after the product's been produced, you have to flog that product. Now, in my little way, what I used to do in that little chain was sell the product. Was I an engineer? Did I know how to produce the product? Did I understand the technical wizardry that went into producing the product from the stage that the designer, who'd occasionally come into the factory and I'd shake his hand occasionally and talk to him, did I understand any of it? No. But did I have a broad enough knowledge across the board to be able to go into a dealer, a distributor, or even an end user's house sometimes, very rarely, and deal with their issue, problem, or flog them something? Yeah, you need a general jack of all trades knowledge to be able to do that. Now, does that mean that in order for me personally, Brian's about to get big props, right? In order for me personally to do that, do I need people around me who do have the tenacity to knuckle down, as Brian's describing himself? And he does, I'm not going to disagree with him. Do the research so I can listen to him, give me the précis version, the shortened, not necessarily that concise with Brian version, but you know what I'm talking about. The understanding that he's acquired in this regard because he has debated with the trolls, whereas I've given them short shrift and gone, I don't care, smash it flat, which annoys Brian. But for my brazen brushing off of the competitor, the opponent that Brian's dealing with to acquire this knowledge or acquire his own understanding of his shortfall in his own knowledge to go out and actually understand and research what he needs to know to overcome some of these objections. Brian's saying, well, you don't do that. Therefore, you'll fall victim to next man if they have a overarching understanding of avionics in this particular regard, right? I'd say no. That's happened. I've often gone out when I've been in front of somebody with much, much higher technical understanding of something that I'm selling than I have. So how do you overcome that problem and deal with that person? Well, you just be honest. If in that moment, when this hypothetical scenario that Brian's described as a podcast, I'm in front of somebody and they're describing avionics and they definitely know more about it than I do, and they've got me in a gotcha situation, just have to be honest. I don't know. I'll have to check with somebody who knew more about avionics than I do in this particular scenario. But will it alter what I listen to in terms of their argumentation? No. I'm good at that. Listening to what actually is being put across in terms of their presentation of their point, which is that any of the axiomatic principles in the avionic measurements that I've already got would need to bend, and they don't. Now, does that mean that somebody who's catching me out in this case, if it was 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours ago, when I haven't got the lowdown on how they've decided to come at us with this argument, like we need coming at, go to the NTSB with this data if you think that they're making these corrections, by the way. They're not. But Brian's saying, well, I've listened to their arguments and I know how to overcome it. And what I have overcome it with is a correction that actually is axiomatically tied to a flat earth that they need to correct too. And I need you to understand that. It just seems wrong that Brian's had to do the research while I'm doing other things, right? Making videos, raising kids, whatever it is that would be unfair to Brian for me to just say, no, I don't have to pay attention to this information that you're researching. Because in the same scenario, Brian would be able to overcome it on the spot. I'd have to put my hands in the air and say, no, I didn't know this mercury switched-based system existed. I just thought it was in an extreme circumstance for a plane that's got the vacuum-based system, what they'd call pendulous vanes. This is new to me. I'd have to look into it. Does it alter any of the axiomatic measurements of Earth's surface as a sea level or change the flight levels? That would be what I'd have to mumble my way through with my hands in the air with a lack of knowledge. But my objection to you personally, Brian, is that you're phrasing it in such a way that it's like, well, you're not as good as me. It's like, well, why are you doing that? There's no need for that.
That's not what he's saying.
I'm not phrasing it that way at all. That's how you're choosing to hear it, Nathan. What I'm trying to say to you is that you're putting yourself in a position where you can be made look foolish potentially
9 times
because of you don't want to pay attention to the details. It's not that what you're saying is incorrect.
Well, it's the 9th time you've suggested this. Now, I don't not want to pay attention to details, right? Number 1, there's only so many hours in the day. Number 2, I'll pay attention to details all day long, and so they make a coherent line of thoughts in my own head. I've got to pay attention to them. I'm not giving you short shrift. I'm not telling you not to tell me, and I'm not decrying the importance of it. I'm also pointing out that there is always going to be that shortcut. Now, you don't like that, basically, is what I've summarised from this discussion. When I say, yeah, but Earth's still measured flat in the data, you're saying, don't give me short shrift. This could come up on a podcast. That's what you're basically saying, right?
No, what I'm saying is that you saying that won't mean anything if the opposition there can give the audience the impression that they know what they're talking about and you don't. You saying that means to the audience that, well, that can't mean anything because he obviously doesn't understand the situation. This other person who does understand the situation. So it's about
Let
the
me just
audience.
address that then. Okay, fine. You and I, in this regard, both have the same credentials. I've got 10 years under my belt in this subject, Brian. I don't need anybody to tell me that I'm not qualified in terms of my education of flat Earth. I know what I know. I've been doing it for 10 years, and I don't need somebody to tell me whether or not I'm an expert. I am. So are you. Now, you've got different expertise fields to me. Mine's far more jack of all trades in general. But that doesn't mean that if I'm in front of somebody, even if it's Neil deGrasse Tyson, who's got more years on me in this subject, wouldn't mean I'd be in any way fearful of what I absolutely know being an expert in this subject, or that I need their validation in terms of their ability to overcome something in my repertoire that I don't have 100% knowledge of. I have no knowledge of avionics. Yeah? Doesn't mean I can't read a graph. I read it. We checked. Earth's measured flat. That's what the black box data shows. Now, does that mean that I'm not going to pay attention when you give me an exceptional argument in terms of the corrections that these instruments make to the horizontal? Yeah, I'm going to pay attention to that, Brian. It's juicy. And I thank you for it. What I don't thank you for is 9 times telling me that I'm going to look stupid. There's no need for that. Just stop doing it. I don't know why you do it.
I'm not
It's
telling
irritating.
you. I'm not trying to make you feel like you're stupid.
I don't.
Put myself one up above you or anything like that. I'm trying to point out to you that there's details of this little thing here, just this one thing. There's not a whole lot in it to understand. If you just put a little bit of effort in to understand it, I don't even mind going through it with you, then you won't be put in that position. I'm going to help you defend yourself.
No, I get that.
Because
I'm grateful.
You're
Well,
going to
that's
be
where I'll
representing me when you're out there.
give you props.
I'm QB and Adam and everyone else.
I get it, right? And I'm glad we've had this conversation because this undertone, right, from my ghostwriters, right, they're leaning into it a bit too much. Need whipping back into line in many respects. But my book that's being edited with a lot of help is getting me a tone, let's just call it, right, from some of the people who are helping me. And I get it, they're putting a lot of work in. But that tone is, you need to understand what we've refined in your book. I'm starting to get the message now, right? Where there's been refinement in my book, the people that are being labelled ghostwriters, they're not. They're helping me edit my book and my words and my text and my information. But when they refine it, that is to say, make it more pure, they want me to understand implicitly the distilled version. And I don't. Well, I'm not a distiller. I don't understand how the refinery process works. Well, you should. If I did, I wouldn't need your help, would I? That's the point. Where there's refinement to be had in a certain specialist subject matter that I've covered in my book, and it's been refined by people more knowledgeable than myself, I'll acknowledge them. Like, there's going to be certain acknowledgements I'll have to give in the book because of exactly this. It doesn't alter that it's my book, as much as people want to suggest that the people helping me edit it have become my ghostwriters, and I'll lean into it, and so will they. But there's a disdain that I'm more concerned with. It's like, why am I getting heat and aggression almost from the people helping me? And it's because, as I've just said, the refined version of what has been refined is now expected of me. That is to say that the exemplary information that has been refined, it's past tense now, it's been done in the book, is going to be expected of me if I'm on a podcast. And there's no way of saying to somebody who's just spent a lot of time putting their exemplary, that's to say better than my knowledge, into refining a specific subject matter in my book, that I need to offer them assurances that, no, I'm going to understand it in the way that you have had to understand it, to be able to refine it beyond my expertise. That needs acknowledgement, and will get acknowledgement. Like I say, there will be certain people who get acknowledged in my book moving forward. But as we get to the end of our tethers with it, because we've all been doing it for bloody years now, that is to say, the book has gone through many, many revisions with lots of different people helping edit each revision. And as it's done so, it's got better each time. But there is a certain expectation on my shoulders as a result of those refinements that, I've got no issue meeting those expectations. I just don't want Brian's suggested idea that I'm lazy or don't want to go into the nitty-gritty of these subject matters that I've had help refining. Because I do. I'm more than willing. And after 10 years of learning the subject, I'm more than confident to go toe-to-toe with anybody they put in front of me in a podcast, Brian. No worries. I'm just washing my hands.
Your confidence is not in question, Nathan. Your
There we go.
competence
Is he going to make it 10?
Yeah. It's not your confidence that's in question. It's your competence in a situation where someone brings up that Mercury switches situation, and can you successfully show them to be wrong and show them to not understand the situation? Because I can't.
Yeah, I got that. And if it was the case, Brian, that it was, I don't know, a year ago, and the answer was no, I'd just have to be able to have the humility to say, I don't understand this aspect that this particular opponent has put to me. Does it alter any of my argumentation? No. Will it make that particular point? Oh my God. Will it make that particular point be a win for that particular audience member at that particular moment that wants the bias to lean against me? Oh no. I mean, it is what it is. That is how things go sometimes. You can only hope that you'll do as good a job as you can possibly do.
But that's what you're missing. Whatever you say then concerning the data and concerning flight won't mean anything, because you look to an ignorant audience. You look like someone who doesn't understand what
10 times you've said I'm stupid, ignorant. I don't get it, Brian. It's just not fun listening to you tell me this. I got your point. Thanks, Brian. Can we move on now? As much as it is fun to listen to you tell me about how gaps in my expertise are going to make me look stupid. Thanks. Yes, you may look smelly if you don't wash, Brian. Just make sure you wash every single time you appear on camera, because you don't want to look smelly. I'm not saying you don't wash, but obviously you wouldn't want to stink, would you, Brian? Or look stinky, or be perceived to be stinky. It's just a perception of stinkiness. It's just a perception of stinkiness.
I said at the end of the pre-show, whatever, do whatever you want.
I'm not saying I don't want to get the information either. I don't want to piss you off, right? I understand. You do a lot of this research. I don't have time to. That's the simple bottom line. So that's why I'm aggrieved. It's like, well, what do you want me to do? Make a hole in my schedule to sit down and study this stuff? Because there isn't one. Literally, there isn't one.
Well, how can you represent me then? How can you go out there and represent me in QE and Aaron?
Well, you do it then.
I will. Absolutely.
Okay.
Problem solved.
Okay, no worries. You're okay if I do it as well, like for me and my family, and paying them and feeding them and keeping the roof over?
You can do
okay if I still do that?
Point is,
in spite of your constant, incessant interruptions and your disappointment in me, will you be all right if I still go out anyway, in spite of how disappointed you might be, retrospectively, or with foresight? There might be something that makes me look stupid, and that might reflect badly on you, so you need to tell me about it 10 times. Yeah, thanks.
Well, you asked me a question, Nathan. I came in to answer the question, and then you call that an interruption. I wasn't trying to interrupt you. You asked me a question. And my answer, well, you said, what? So it's okay if I went and do it? You do whatever you want. But you can't represent me if you're going to be allowing yourself to be open like that.
Okay. What are you, when you say I can't represent you, what is it that you are that I can't represent then?
Well, I am the backbone of this. I'm part of the backbone. I'm not all of the backbone. I'm part of the backbone of FE. There's nobody in the world that I'm aware of who has more information on the subject than me. There might be a couple, there's Adam and obviously QE and that, who have as much. I don't know who else is out there. But I can confidently say that you don't have as much.
I'd agree.
And that's on your back. That's not causing me. Is it?
No.
You can't tell an audience, I don't have time to learn all these things. But how are you going to represent the audience then?
I can't know everything. That's not possible.
Yeah, you can't know everything, but you're basically saying to the audience, look, I don't know all this stuff and whatever.
Yeah.
How can you represent the audience then?
Just as honestly as I possibly can. So if I'm in front of an audience and somebody's interviewing me, they're like, why don't you know about gyros? Because I've never flown a plane. I've never really needed to learn any of this stuff. But as a flat earther, my limited expertise has led me to certain information that's documented about how the surface of Earth is measured. It's called pitch data. Would you like me to explain what I've discovered? Or are you going to grill me on how the flaps work? Because I got to be honest, I don't really know how the flaps work either. But you could grill me on those and make me look stupid by not knowing how flaps work. You could do that. But I'm going to be honest, I don't know how the flaps work. Or the ailerons.
Yeah, but this comes back to the part, what I pointed out some days ago. I think it was a week ago. You are straight away heading into a debate, right? Now, obviously, is there going to be a need for that? And there is a need for that, right? But is it not better to be able to answer the question within
Of
that?
course.
Rather
Speaking
than
bloody
out
obvious.
debating the
No, Brian. Obviously, I'd prefer not to be able to answer all questions and be omnipotent in my information base. Obviously, I prefer to be completely ignorant. Why are you asking? Of course it's better to be able to answer these questions. Obviously, knowing about mercury switches and gyroscopes is preferable if somebody brings them up. Obviously. But my knowledge, I'm not infallible. You know, I'm going to have holes in my information even after 10 years of learning this stuff from people. And obviously, when I'm out there doing my damnedest to represent everybody, when I'm out flogging my book, which is the real reason I'll be out there, to flog my book. Now, that makes me de facto representative of a lot of people. I understand that. It's not just about me flogging my book. But it is. And I'll be out there. And if I don't do a good job of representing you, I won't be doing a good job of somebody who's trying to sell a book. So the two aren't mutually exclusive. You know, I've got to do a good job of representing all of Flat Earth to do a good job of flogging my book. Likewise, anybody who becomes an affiliate for me, if they're trying to flog my book to get the 30% out of it in affiliate commission, they're going to want to do a good job of representing you, Brian, also, but when they talk about the book. Now, does that mean that I haven't stood on the shoulders of many great men over the last 10 years? Of course. Have I thanked every single one of them? I'd hope so. I'd hope not a single one of them would turn around and go, you climbed on me and my back and then took a giant steaming dump on me. There's a little saying, be careful who you climb on to get to the top, because you inevitably have to climb back over them on your way back down again. Now, knowing that little, whatever you call it, phrase, that little saying, has prevented me from shitting on people over the last 10 years. And as much as Brian's my mate, and I know we're just having this is a friendly bit of banter that just happens to be live. I know I haven't crapped on Brian. He's never going to charge me with anything in all sincerity in this particular scenario. He's in sincerity as much as he's being a bit of a gamma secret king, I'm better than you. And he may not like it when he hears it back, but that's how it comes across, Brian. Nevertheless, he's got my best interest at
heart. You're missing my point completely.
I knew it 11 times.
Well, no, my point is I'm also not infallible, but I'm trying my best to be the least fallible or whatever as possible. That's my point.
Yes, me too, Brian.
So, well, I don't know.
Nobody wants to be willfully ignorant, do they? I said it, and as soon as it crossed my lips, I thought, no, there's quite a huge chunk of people that literally want to remain willfully ignorant. They'd rather defend us with violence than go and actually learn how Earth's measured for the sake of argument. You know, they'd rather defend what they'd already learned about heliocentrism. You know what I mean? So willful ignorance is what we fight against.
It is. It's literally what we fight against. Sorry, one.
I was just going to say, just on the same subject as the book, this is why the book's going to be fantastic for Joe Public, because the points that you and Nathan are talking about and not knowing certain things and be able to get into detail, that is exactly what the book's going to provide for people. You know, like myself and people who are new into the subject, they can pick the book up and get more information, which will arm them, you know, will give them the confidence and knowledge to talk about this topic to somebody in a more detailed fashion. So on that note, I think it's just going to be fantastic.
There is 100 people watching, and it hasn't been that way for quite some time. A massive shout out to all of you who liked, shared, more importantly than anything else, the show, as we've got 100 people watching, and as I say, it's been a while. Thank you very much, all of you who've joined in. The only reason we've got 100 people watching is because there are regulars here who share the show. So obviously, I'm going to say thank you to you first. If you've smashed the share button today, you get an extra special thank you. You've got to hear a bit of Brian and Nathan banter today, which is always fun. Please share the show if you've not done so already. I really appreciate everyone who has such fun thus far. Also, shout out to Pablo. He says, Happy Monday. Happy Monday used to be a band that I used to like. It was the first live concert I ever went to. It wasn't actually Happy Mondays, it was Black Grape, but same piss in a different bottle. Anyway, yeah, Happy Monday. Thank you for the super chat, Pablo. Really appreciate the support.
Brian's looking out for your best interest.
Of course he is. Him saying that he'd do a better job, hypothetically, in a scenario where something he's just studied and I haven't would have come up, he would have done better. He would. I can't disagree. And Brian, you are fallible. Everybody's fallible. So don't worry about it either. You haven't got an all-expansive knowledge. You never will, even when you're close to death, if you haven't already gone nuts.
Totally agree. But as I said, I'm trying to limit the amount of it as much as possible. That's all.
Sure.
I mean, I can't know everything, can I? It's not possible. I've admitted so much that I don't know and can't know.
I get it. And while I obviously want to expand my knowledge, nobody wants to be willfully ignorant when you're out promoting a subject where you've spent 10 years with constant opposition trying to catch you out, constant opposition trying to show that you're wrong. Well, now it's reached a point where what I am in this regard is utterly irrelevant. I've checked the measurements of Earth and it is flat. That is how it is measured. What's that? You need to tell me something different. I don't care. But you do. You care that I hear how I've read the flat Earth measurements wrong, how it's all this crap. Now, Brian's saying you need to study this or someone will catch you out on it. Maybe, maybe not. But ultimately speaking, I've already reached the point when we came to writing a book where we knew it was measured flat. That's been a rhetoric for 2 or 3 years. This isn't new. So it's reached almost a point of indifference. So yeah, I might get made to look stupid by somebody who knows a lot about avionics in this specific example that Brian's trying to hold me to task for, and rightly so. We're all constantly holding each other to an extremely high standard. Me getting a bit bent out of shape and getting a bit put out and counting the number of times I've been put down is my sensitivity to this. Why? Well, because I'm not fully battle-hardened in this regard, right? Still got a little bit of sensitivity left in me. I don't like being called stupid by Brian because I respect him. And I know he's right, which is even more irritating. But there we go. Knowledge isn't... we are not infallible, right?
I don't recall Brian ever calling you stupid.
He said you might be made to look stupid. He didn't say I would be stupid. He's not that crass. I'm saying I'm an overly sensitive fella in this regard, Neil. I'm putting myself down, being self-deprecating, because I've reached a point of almost being apathetic to the subject, and Brian can sense it. It's like, no, don't just let yourself get lazy. There's still plenty to learn. There's still going to be arguments that come back your way, and just saying, oh, well, it's flat, it's measured that way. If something comes up that you haven't got a clue about, and then somebody on an opposing side of a panel you're there to promote your book on starts talking about this particular thing, in this case, avionics, and if they start seeming really smart and saying, what, you don't know about the self-correcting gyros that account for Earth curve? And I go, no, I don't really know much about gyros. I've never had a need to. I don't fly aircraft. Well, why are you talking on the subject, stupid flat earther? Obviously, we've got Earth curve measurements in the self-correcting gyros. That's why the flat Earth, straight line, sea level, parallel is what it is in this measurement, because we had self-correcting gyros the whole time that you didn't know about, you stupid idiot. And I'd hear that and go, okay, I mean, maybe that's the case, but there's plenty of other flat Earth measurements I can appeal to. Now, if in that moment you're saying, well, you've lost half the audience, they all want to believe that, yeah, they all wanted to believe it was a ball anyway. So 50% that I've lost at that point were teetering on the border of wanting to crucify me there and then anyway. So while I agree with Brian, I've got to kind of play devil's advocate for the point that there's a good chunk of the general Western world that do not care, no matter what I say, that Earth is measured flat. And when there's somebody there that's there purely to offer pain relief to the majority of the audiences that I'm going to be dealing with shortly when promoting my book, that are going to want to catch me out, I'm just going to accept that. Yeah, there's going to be people who want to catch me out. So what? Do I care? Does it change how Earth is measured? No. Well, Brian's saying don't take that attitude. Don't become apathetic. Stay frosty. And he's right.
Is that the new thing? People wanted to catch us out. That's a new thing. that's like a Monday for us. What do you mean? That's what we've been doing for years.
Exactly. We're doing it now, right? You don't get time to become apathetic.
Yeah, but that was in the beginning. So it's bad now if you allow anybody to catch you out there with the evidence we have, with the silver bullet now that we have. You can't let anybody catch you out there.
It's not even catching us out. It's them catching themselves out. Like I agree with the attitude that Nathan had earlier when I came in a little bit earlier. Like we're good. You guys are the ones that have things you guys got to work out between yourselves. That's been my attitude for a minute now. it's almost like Nathan caught on. Like we're good over here. It's measure flat. We're good. What's going on with you guys? Are you guys deciding whether it's the curve is measured or not, or what are you doing? What's today? Is today we've measured it day, or is today it's too big tonight? Like
it's a negligible curvature day. Negligible curvature today.
No, Chocolate has been saying it for years. You guys got to get your stuff together. Seems like you's got to work things out.
I mean, I don't think I'd do very well in a podcast because as soon as they mention horizontal, vertical, or parallel, I'll just tell them you can't use that word, mate. It's got nothing to do with curvature. And I'll just stop and talking.
Yeah. Well, it's one step further down the line for one deck. So I'm saying to Brian, who cares when every axiomatic principle in the measurements is tied to horizontal surface level, parallel flight, straight level, altitude at a certain flight level. All these things are requiring a flat Earth in principle that they cannot use at any stage. And one deck saying as soon as he would hear any of those words even mentioned, he'd stop the discussion there and then. Now, Brian has always been, obviously, of the ilk that if you're dealing with somebody that takes these principles that are axiomatically defined and violates them from the outset by pure fiat, just by begging the question, then you've got to start from their position if you're going to try and get them on your side. Now, I get it. I've heard it for the last 3 months. I get it.
No. Exactly what one deck said is totally fine. Totally perfect. As soon as they bring up any of those, well, you can't use them. I'm totally fine with that. You can go back and listen, Nathan. I was saying that a long time ago. But you weren't listening. Like you're not listening to me today. I'll be very clear on what I'm saying. If you want to bring up pitch data, and one of them is going to come at you publicly with some nonsense about a Mercury switch system that you haven't bothered learning about, it's going to look to the audience like you don't know what you're talking about and they do. So when you say this pitch data proves blah, 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 the audience will go, well, obviously it doesn't because this one, doesn't, nobody's talking about. So they're not even going to pay attention to what you have to say after that.
The first time you said it. It's been 11 times now.
Well, I didn't get it that you got that. I got it that you were arguing with me.
Yeah, my argument is for the shortcut to the flat Earth in any axiom that's used in that discussion.
Because most of the time, the shortcut will be provided by the opponent themselves. They just don't know it half the time.
Yeah. And Brian's saying, I want to know how they would take their shortcut to the flat Earth that they're hiding when they present something to us. Because they're always trying to hide something. They're never actually presenting the curve data. It's some sort of it's always some sort of shilly scam. You know what I mean? Some broken instrument that they say, well, it would be accounting for curvature. Well, no, it wouldn't. If it was working, it would be correcting to straight and level flight, as every other instrument in the plane showed.
Exactly. They don't have that.
The same curvature will tell you we can't measure, but it's this thing. It's supposed to be counting for curvature, but it doesn't. And in another discussion, we don't do that. It's locally flat.
Why would we do it? There's negligible curvature. Negligible curvature. Why would we? It's just flat.
You don't understand. You don't measure the curvature. You measure the effects of curvature. Remember that one?
Yeah.
You're
not accounting for us correcting it away. It's been corrected away. What do you mean it's been corrected away? The curve that we're not seeing in these flat Earth measurements. It's been corrected. So
hey, wrong. Nathan, Brian, just back to the book. I know you might not be able to. So just for example, and you might not be able to go into this, just regarding the gyroscope then, how much of that is mentioned in the book and to what detail?
What we're doing right
Yeah,
now,
but
it's what we're doing literally in this chapter. It's the last chapter of the book on flights. It's what we're covering right now, which is why people are, I don't want to use the word aggressive, but obviously it's being refined. So I'm being held up as the example. There's an expectation of me while it's being refined. It is the last chapter of the book, Flights.
yeah, just on what was said a second ago, that this is exactly my point. When they're trying to say that these things are making corrections for curvature, I can then go through the details of what they think is correcting for curvature and show to an audience outright without a doubt that they didn't understand what they were talking about. And that it's not doing any of those things. And that only validates when I show the pitch data then. And I speak about the lift effect. And that only validates me. There is no question then in the audience's mind.
Sure, but would you agree at that point, Brian, that the person that's presented that to you is a liar? They're a deceitful shit to have done that, to present that as though it was proving curvature. That would make them a liar, correct?
Or an idiot, one or the other, ignorant.
They wouldn't be an idiot. If somebody's been,
yeah.
in this hypothetical example that you've given to me, where somebody's being wheeled out to do this to me specifically, that's not an idiot, is it? That's somebody that's there to deceive, correct?
Well, it could be somebody who, no, there's no guarantee they're going to be lying. They actually might think that is correct. There's no like these. You have to understand with these people. Some of them are outright some of them will just outright lie like that publicly, but some of them will just go forward with absolute confidence, thinking that they have something that they don't have, because they haven't actually learned about it properly. They've been told about. They think, you know what I mean. They get confirmation bias out of something small, and they just hang on to that because they have a fear. So some of them won't be lying. They actually will think they have something.
Hamlin's razor, don't ascribe to malice what could be explained with stupidity, would always apply. Therefore, even if somebody is wheeled out with the sole purpose of suggesting that there's an earth curve correction in gyroscopic motion, upon undermining their position by showing how the corrections in a faulty gyro, or indeed just general corrections, are tied to the axiomatic horizontal correction they're correcting to, then you're undermining their position, regardless of if it's done through malice or idiotic, stupid person that's just there thinking that they've got a gotcha. Regardless, you can just overcome their point, show how the correction's actually to a horizontal plane of reference, and then you get on with your day with the rest of your flat earth proofs.
Yeah, but that's what Captain Edgewise and Almanator, they've got confirmation bias. That's correct, Brian.
Yeah, they're boltards.
Captain who?
Right. So any little thing they get, to them, instead of it being eye-opening, it's confirmation bias. Brian explained it earlier today. Every bit of those papers that were sent to us. But they don't listen because they got it as confirmation bias. Yeah, it's a ball. It's impossible for it to detect curvature and put it down in the pitch data. It magically disappears.
What they tend to do is they'll focus on 6 and forget about 7 and 8 and how they connect to 9 and how it all connects back to 3. Do you know what I mean? They will make an argument in a vacuum. So Dave McKeegan is making an argument about this mercury switches and the torque, right, system. And is he taking into account that that's in those particular gyros or that particular power system, that is not relevant in the other power system? Do you know what I mean? It's like, he's arguing that it's correcting back to horizontal, but their argument is that it's a correction that's happening. They're basically implying it's a mathematical correction. It's not. It's an actual mechanical correction that's ignored then mathematically because of the system that's there to correct it. They don't have to. Like I'm only going by what they're saying when I say it's ignored mathematically. I don't know if that's even true. That could be shown in some pitch data somewhere. I don't know if that's true, but I'm going by what they say. They're saying it's not in the pitch data. Right? It's not in the pitch data. If it's not in the pitch data, it's because it's being ignored because the gyro is not holding horizontal at that point. So they ignore it because they can't use because the gyro is not holding horizontal. They then can't use that. Do you know what I mean? For the data. They need the horizontal. They need the zero for the data. So the point is that does Dave McKeegan even know what any of the things I just pointed out? It's very likely he doesn't. He's just arguing in a vacuum. He's not even thinking that what he's actually doing. If you think about it, as I thought about it, he's actually claiming that pendulous vanes are creating a constant vertical, which they are, which is creating a constant horizontal, holding a constant horizontal, making the Earth only one way, flat. You know what I mean? It's like he doesn't see maybe how the argument he's making with the switches, the mercury and the mercury switches and the torque and that. He's not seeing how that system and its corrections that don't need to be made with the other ones because those pendulous vanes is proven is one like. Do you know what I mean?
Well, you summarised it already. Correction to what? Correction to what?
Horizontal.
Right. It's game over. We've got the measurements. They don't have to like it. They can argue with us all they like, but I am kind of apathetic to it now. I don't really care. I mean, you can feel free to come and tell me I'm wrong about how Earth's been measured flat and how it hasn't got the curve data in the data because there's some correction that's supposed to be... I don't care. It's flat, we measured, it's checked. We know. There's no real need for any of you idiots anymore. We're done with you. You can just argue amongst yourselves about how the missing curve is corrected for or doesn't need to be accounted for or is gravitationally exempt. You argue amongst yourselves. We don't care anymore. But with that, I will say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering Streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to all of you who liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley and I will see you all in the next video.